Hey everybody, I'm Charlene,
Hi guys, I'm Rachel.
and welcome to our podcast, Notorious for Nothing.
Today we are going to talk about self-care.
Yes, and I think that's something like a really important topic to talk about, just in general, and especially right now with all this coronavirus and quarantine stuff going on.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
isolation can take a huge toll on your mental health. So it's good to kind of like have little tips or tricks that work for you for your own self-care.
yes. So, what's your definition of self-care?
My definition of self-care is doing something that gives me joy, something that legitimately makes me happy.
Hmm. Yeah. Mine's similar to that. I think it's something like I do for me that makes me happy and just makes me better, whether it's like physically, emotionally, or mentally. So,
Kind of like a form of growth.
yeah, yeah, definitely. And so, I mean, I'm sure we all have our days when we're like feeling down and gloomy and depressed. What do you do like if you ever fall into those stages?
I try to get out of bed. I think that's the hardest thing to do when you're feeling like really down and like you
Hmm.
don't want to do anything. It's just the first step is getting out of bed.
I agree 100%. And then, like, the whole cooking and eating and stuff, it's like you literally don't wanna do anything. And so, yeah, I think it's difficult. But I don't know. How do you fix that?
I think like doing little things that you don't normally do for yourself. So like I'm not the person that makes my bed every day. So I know if I'm having like a rough morning or I like couldn't sleep the night before, I'll try to get up and make my bed so I won't one get back in it, but two, I've done something that makes the house look cleaner. Like I've actually accomplished something for the day.
Okay.
And then I usually go to cook something. Like that's my next step is to eat something. I think people often think of self care as like, you need to go get a massage, or you need to go get your nails done, which is important too if that makes you happy and that brings you joy. But another
Mhm.
thing is nourishing your body and like making sure that you're okay,
Yeah, like you have, like, the right nutrients and stuff that make you happy. Like, ugh, what was it? I don't know what it's called, but, what's that thing in chocolate that's, like, supposed to make you happy?
I don't know, it brings endorphins
Yeah,
and
that, yeah.
those
Yeah.
things.
But yeah, I think I'm like pretty similar, but I don't know. I feel like when I feel like that, I like to be alone and like in the sun. I
Oh
don't
yeah.
know why, but like the warmth of the sun just feels so good and makes me happy. And it's really funny because um I don't remember how long ago, but I think I read somewhere that being vitamin D sufficient, like you don't have enough vitamin D, like it may like cause sadness and depression. And so sometimes I feel like maybe that's why, because like I said, like when I go in the sun, it just feels so good and makes me feel better.
Yeah, I definitely think like warmth, sun, and eating are one of the things that like really bring me joy.
Yeah, I
I also
agree.
find that, like, quiet spaces or if, like, I just made an awesome playlist and I listen to music that makes me happy, that can totally change my mood and make me
Hmm.
want to do self-care and actually, like, start taking care of myself.
Yeah.
But, like, things, noises like the highway or, just, like, constant banging of construction and things like that definitely put a hamper on my mood, so I have to,
Yeah.
especially in the city, like, know when to take a break and listen to music.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it's important. Like I know we talked a little bit about making time for self-care, but I think it's important to have like a checklist. Like
Hmm.
something to look at when you don't know what to do.
Hmm.
whether you're like bored or you're like stressed and you can't get something done that you want to get done, and just have
Yeah.
like a list of self-care that takes 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30
Like,
minutes.
even doing yoga for, like, 10 minutes helps. Yeah.
There's so many like free things online too, like a quick 10-minute yoga and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. But I don't know. Especially, like, with being locked up in quarantine right now, I think, like, that mental health is really important, especially those that are, like, quarantining alone
Mhm.
for months. I don't know. I feel like that's a lot of video chatting.
Yeah. I see like one of the things from this change though, like that's creating history is the fact that we're enabling telehealth to
Yeah.
be because originally it was one of those things that, we didn't know how to bill properly. So it's like we can't do telehealth because we can't bill it properly. And now that we're all in quarantine, it offers that opportunity for telehealth over the phone, over Zoom,
Mhm.
but it also gives opportunity for like rural areas. So people who
Yeah.
are already in a situation before quarantine, now they're allowed to use telehealth to better their health, or their mental
Yeah.
health. And
Yeah. I think that's cool too. I wonder if, like, hospitals would still do that, because I know, like, some of them are like, "Oh, if this can be done over the phone, let's do it over the phone." But
Mhm.
it's also like you mentioned, those in, like, the rural areas, like, if they have, like, a wart on their leg, but if they're okay or something, like, could they just show it over Zoom
Mhm.
instead of driving there?
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that, like, because if you're sending a picture and you're not seeing the doctor or you're not talking to the doctor, then you technically can't get billed for the doctor's work, right?
Yeah,
That's part of telehealth. That's like on a gray line of like, well, I can give you this and you can work on it, you can see it, you can analyze it, but I won't be talking to you. So technically, I won't have to pay you. You know.
yeah. I mean, I remember, when I had Kaiser and I had, like, random stuff, I would, like, send a picture, just send them an email.
Mhm.
And then usually, like, their nurse would reply and be like, "Oh, I spoke to doctor da da da." It was either you need to come in so they can examine it, or it's like, "Oh, that's just this. Just put this on it or something," you know? So,
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that a lot working at a doctor's office too, where people would email the nurse practitioner and be like, "Hey, I have this thing. Was wondering if you guys could check it out." And then the nurse practitioner, if she felt like it was important, she would talk to the doctor. If she felt like it wasn't, she would be like, "Well, if you really want to talk to a doctor, you need to come in."
yeah. I don't know. I wonder, like, if it's gonna still be telehealth once the virus is over, or
I mean, I hope so. I really hope so because then it gives that opportunity for rural communities to get better healthcare.
yeah,
It goes so far. But I also know that the healthcare system's a little skewed in the fact that they're trying to get the most money out of their patients or out
of
of
course.
the insurance companies. So I think it really just depends on the doctor, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, can't they kind of, like, do, like, a charging over the phone type of thing too?
Oh yeah, now they can.
Yeah.
That's what came out of this quarantine is allowing, using the phone as a way to charge your patients. Like
Mhm.
you're talking to the doctor and talking to the doctor over the phone, you can be charged for that. And I don't know, there's a lot of different things with telehealth. Like it's easier to step out of a room, if the patient is acting like asking questions that you can't answer, like because you're a cardiologist, they're asking questions about an endocrinologist needs to
Yeah.
answer. So it's easier to step out of the room and be like, hey, this is out of my out of what I can tell you. So you need to go see your endocrinologist for that. Over the phone, it's harder to, you can't just hang up the phone, right?
Yeah.
Like you can put them on hold, but then, you're charging them for the minutes they're on hold, right? Or you
Right.
have to keep track of when you're on hold. So, I mean, there's a lot of gray areas in telehealth that I think makes it more difficult for the doctor, but also makes it more difficult for the patient.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess it's one of those we'll wait and see what happens, and probably, like, depends on your need for the doctor.
One of the things that I thought about too during quarantine is, you know how you used to have to take the day off to pick up your kid from school, or you had to take a day off to go to a doctor's appointment?
Mhm.
But now it's kind of obsolete, right? Now that you know you can work from home and I mean, you have everything, you can work from home, so you don't need to take those days off anymore. Just be like, hey, today I'm going to work from home, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Especially, like, those salaried, it's like they can just leave and work till 7 instead of 6 if they were gone for an hour.
Mm. Yeah, I think that's one of the important mental health things that we
Mhm.
did is, you know, before we were told, "Oh, you can't do this job from home. You can't do this job from home. You have to be in the office. We have to be watching over you." And like that's changed so much,
Yeah.
you know?
But, like, speaking of, mental health and, like, working from home, I my previous job, I actually, like, worked from home some days and stuff, and sometimes it was, like, a week or whatever, and it's not the same. You do get, like, a little lonely. It's like, I'd rather be in an office with other, like, coworkers and talk with them and stuff too, so, I don't know, I think, like, maybe working from home, like, 2 to 3 times a week.
Yeah, I've actually heard a lot of people talk about that. Be like, you know what? I'd love to work from home now that we've all been able to, but I also want to be able to go in like once or twice a week.
Yeah,
So our dream used to be, you know, I want to work from home all the time, and now it's kind of changed to I want to go see people once or twice a week.
yeah, yeah. I hope, because like, I think there would be, like, a lot less traffic with people working from home and all that jazz.
I also think it's easier to, you know, when you're working from home, kind of check in on yourself, you know? Because I mean, especially when I was working at an office, I had to get up super early and get ready and then drive down, took like an hour and a half to drive down there. And
Yeah,
then I wasn't checking in on myself throughout the day. And then I definitely wasn't checking in on myself when I got home from work because I was so tired, you know?
yeah,
So it's kind of like I mean, it'd be good, of course, to go in and see your coworkers, but it's also good to work from home because you have more time to like be like, hey, now it's time for lunch. Like no one can tell me I can't leave for lunch right now. You
yeah,
know?
yeah, and I agree, because it's like, if you work from home, you start at 8, you can literally wake up at, like, 7:30, 7:50, or whatever, and then it's like, "Oh, I'm gonna take a 10-minute break and eat breakfast, and then lunch," and all that, so it has its pros and cons, I guess.
So I know we kind of talked about this in the beginning, but do you think making tea is self care?
I think it depends. 'Cause, like, I think it depends on the setting. Cause like, I drink tea, like, all the time, but sometimes, like, I'll just put a movie on, get cozy in bed, and have a cup of tea, so that, like, benefits me and makes me happy, whereas I'll be plopped on the couch and just have a cup of tea for no reason.
I think mindfulness is a big part of self care because you're right. You if you make coffee every morning, you don't see it as self-care
Yeah,
anymore, or make tea just, really quickly, you don't see it as self-care, but I think if you, like, are really mindful of the steps, like, "Okay, I just heated up the water, and now I'm gonna try to hit the water on top of the tea bag perfectly like you're supposed to do, and I'm gonna let it steep for 2 minutes," and, so like, a simple act as making tea and just being super mindful of it can be, like, the easiest, quickest self-care you can do for yourself, you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
Like, "I'm gonna add a spoonful of honey today because I can't," you know?
Ooh, getting fancy with it. But, yeah, I totally agree with you. I think you can do, like, and I think, like, with that, like, if you're really good with doing the whole being, like, mindful about everything, I think, like, you can do that with just about, like, your day-to-day life.
Mm,
Like, even, like, working, going into work, I think, like, switching up what you're being mindful about can help going into work a lot better.
mm. I definitely find, like, writing things that I'm grateful for makes it easier to be mindful,
Mhm.
throughout because I think it can be so exhausting to be, like to reflect on your day and be like, "Oh my god, I wasn't mindful during this time, I wasn't mindful during that time," you know? I wasn't really thinking about what I was doing, I don't know how I got home, like, how I drove home, things
Yeah,
like
I've had so many of those nights.
I think that it's good to like, oh, I'm so grateful for my car. So you get in your car and your mind, you're like, oh yeah, I am so grateful that I have my car. Or,
Yeah.
so grateful for so and so at work. And then when you see them, you're like, yeah, I am. I'm really grateful that this
Yeah.
helped me, you know.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah. Just be more mindful, everybody. Be happy with what you have. Enjoy what you have.
So, what are some things you specifically do for self care every day besides making tea?
Every day? I mean, I don't think I do it every day, but the whole me time, going out in the sun, and then it even makes me happy just like taking my laptop outside and working outside.
Mm.
Um and like doing a face mask that smells good. And depending on the mood, either hot shower or cold shower with like good music playing. What about you?
Really self care things I do is brush my hair. Constant struggle. So, and um, I really like to cook. I think that's one of the things I do to kind of, you know, start my day the best way.
Mhm.
And then, like for myself, I like to plan out my day. So, or like plan out my week. So that's something I try to do daily. And I don't always do it. Some days are just like, I'm not going to do anything today.
Right. Yeah.
But on the days that, I do feel like I have my shit together.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Thank you guys for listening. We do hope you enjoyed this episode.
Make sure to comment on what you do for self care or if this video helped you with any ideas on what you should do for self care. We learn the most from you guys. So
Yes.
everything that you tell us, we do take into consideration. So, yeah, definitely comment and hit that subscribe button, get notifications for the next time we post next week.
All right. Thanks, guys. Bye.